Welcome back to the Villains. This is our game week prediction show for each game week in the Premier League. This is our third concept now that you know about. We've got, first of all, panel show that'll be coming before every single Aston Villa game, previewing the fixture with Aston Villa fans. Then we'll be having game week predictions where we get to talk about the Premier League on a larger scale, not just Villa. We'll then have panel show reactions to Aston Villa's games. And then we've got one more concept that I'm not going to tell you about. So that's pretty much going to be your 4 guaranteed concepts each week on the Villains. So get subscribing, smash the likes, and comment your thoughts. So how it's going to work, each week I predict every single fixture. We then input it into a table. And then come the end of the season, we will obviously have the Premier League table, and then we will have my table based upon my predictions. So I feel like that'll keep us really interested to see how I'm predicting things, what I'm looking at compared to what's actually happening. So let's have a look then. Let's have a look at the first fixture that we're going to be talking about. So we're going to be going with numerical order straight down to when they'll be happening on Monday night, I think, with Fulham against Chelsea. So let's start then with Arsenal against Coventry. I feel like this will be a welcome to the Premier League for Coventry. Probably one of the toughest places to go now, the Emirates, because I think with Arsenal's structure, their confidence, the way in which they operate and do things, they won't be dropping many points this season at the Emirates. I feel like this will be, I don't feel like it'll be like high scoring. I don't feel like it'll be like 5s or anything along those lines, because I think Coventry will obviously want to put a good account of themselves. We know Arsenal haven't really been that sort of expressive and free-flowing last season. It was very much get the job done. Some of the performances were just grinding and getting those little narrow victories. So to kick it off, to be honest, I'm going to go with a solid 3-0 Arsenal victory against Coventry. We've got Hull against Manchester United. This is probably going to be one of the ones where I feel like it will be quite comfortable for Manchester United. I don't really see Hull putting out any performance here that's going to sort of beat Manchester United. I think it will probably be early feelers for all of the newly promoted clubs, and then you'll probably start to see game week 3, 4, 5. That's when some of them might get their first victories. That's just how I feel like it will be. Obviously, Ipswich have got a little bit of recent experience, having been promoted a couple of years ago, whereas Coventry and Hull haven't been in the Premier League for a very, very long time. So they're going to have to sort of feel their way through it. I imagine their fan bases will have to do exactly the same. So I'd go Manchester United 3, Hull 0. I feel like that will be a pretty comprehensive victory for Manchester United. Some of the other big 6 teams, I actually don't feel like it's going to be that comprehensive, to be honest. I feel like it'll be a little bit more difficult. Everton against Crystal Palace. I feel like this is a really interesting game. I feel like Everton, I think they're going to have a really good season. Crystal Palace with a brand new manager. We don't really know what to expect. I would probably say, what do I expect with them in the Europa League? I expect them to probably be in and around where they normally finish. You know, where do they normally finish? 13th, 12th, 14th, something along those lines. Adding Europa League, I feel like they'll be in exactly the same position. I don't see Palace being any better than what they normally are. Whereas Everton, new stadium, they've got used to that now. They have got David Moyes' principles, his concepts on the way he wants to work. But I would go with this one. I think this is going to be a 2-2. I feel like Everton would probably be expected to win this game, but I feel like Palace will be pretty solid and their new manager will want to get off to a good start. Next up, we've got Ipswich against Sunderland, and I'm going to go with a 1-1 here. I think Ipswich at home will hopefully try and get points this season. Sunderland, obviously on their high of last season, very, very high. I mean, I would say they're not going to do as good as last season. Why would I say that? I imagine Sunderland fans would probably go, well, that's what everybody's saying. But I would say they caught a lot of teams out, and I think a lot of teams will be more prepared for Sunderland. And I think there's always that sort of second season syndrome. I feel like it's there. It's there. It does exist. I always remember a couple of years ago, Sheffield United doing really well, and then next season they're down there. So I would feel they'll be in that highly competitive pack, but I feel like this one will be a 1-1. This game here now, Forest against Leeds, I feel like this is going to be a high-scoring game. I feel like both of these teams are going to do pretty good this season. And I feel like they'll both do really good. I feel like they're both going to be probably in and around the same area. 10th to 8th. I think I've had them in the predictions. I think Leeds will be fine. I think Forest under Glasner will be good. My one little reservation about Glasner is that even though he's been very good in the Cups with Crystal Palace, Premier League kind of like flattered to deceive a little bit. So they do have a little bit of a free hit at sort of no European football, which, okay, fine. So it's going to be interesting. He's probably going to play that 5 at the back system. He's got a lot of attackers. Gibbs White's brilliant. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 there. Next up, we have got Brentford against Spurs. And I'm going for a lot of draws here, but I feel like this opening weekend is going to throw up a lot of draws. I feel like everybody's going to look at Spurs there and go, Spurs will win that. But I don't think they will. I think Brentford are probably going to start the season quite strong. And I feel like that would be a good result for them at home. I feel like this will be a game where De Zerbi's going to want to get his system flowing, but I feel like it might be one where he gets caught out a little bit on transition or a set piece. So Brentford, I know their team hasn't really been raided too much, so it's more of the same. So I'll go a draw with that one. Next up, we've got Villa against Brighton. And what I will say about this fixture is that if you can't back your own team in the opening day of the season to get a victory, then we might as well pack up and go home, because open day optimism has to be there for every fan base, right? So I feel like both teams have got a lot of injuries, and I feel like what's going to be the difference maker? Unai Emery's system. I feel like last season we were very, very bad early on, and I don't feel like we will be as bad. Muscle memory. Unai Emery will want to get off to a very good start. We'll want to be as solid as we possibly can. And I think we will look to get points. We cannot go into a season thinking, opening day, it doesn't matter. We can lose that. It doesn't matter. Second game, yeah, we've got Arsenal. Doesn't matter. No, every single point here is huge. So I imagine we will have had an hour and a half, an hour, 2 hour sit-down meeting tactically about this game, the importance of it. We'll have some youth players in and around that first team with the injuries, but it's time for them to step up. So for me, I'm going to go with a 2-1 Villa win. I think it'll be tight, but I think we might nick it. And I think it'll be a great start to the season for Aston Villa. Now, for Manchester City, I think this is a good game for them off the back of that Charity Shield loss. I think Bournemouth are going to be bottom half this season with European football. Can their manager kick on from Iraola? It's going to be very difficult for him to kick them on. So I do think they might just dip slightly with what's in and around their objectives this season. I think they'll want to probably win the Europa League. I think every team that's in it now that's from England will want to win it. But I think Man City at home against Bournemouth, a new manager, I think they will want to assert their structure and their style. And I just feel like this is a good game for Manchester City. So I'm going to go 2-0 Manchester City. Liverpool against Newcastle. Two new managers coming up against each other. Newcastle, very, very tough place to go for anybody at any time of any season. But I feel like Iraola is a great manager, a great coach with a great philosophy, with a good team there. He's got a good Liverpool team. They're looking to add. This is a difficult game, you know. This is a difficult game. Do you know what? I'm going to be open and honest on all of these of what comes into my head. This has come into my head. 2-1 Newcastle. I feel like Newcastle have got lots of new players, lots of young players, but I just feel like they've been raided, and I feel like he'll get it on the first day. I feel like he'll get that victory. I actually feel like Newcastle might have an average season as a whole, but I think on the opening day, anything can happen. And I think Liverpool might get stung late on here. I think it'll be 1-1 and they get hit late on. Maybe like an Asula, or might be one of their new midfielders that just grab a goal. And the story will be like, Gomes has gone and a new midfielder steps up. So I'm going to go Newcastle to beat Liverpool. And then last game of the game weekend. Again, this is going to be a surprise as well. I feel like Fulham are going to beat Chelsea. Craven Cottage, brand new manager, under the lights. Well, it'll be quite light when the game kicks off, won't it? But it'll dip into darkness. I think that'll be a big shock. And this is what I'm talking about. Everyone's going Spurs, Chelsea. They're going to be up there. They're going to be this, that, blah, blah, blah. They are going to have challenges this season because the Premier League is so unforgiving that you don't get game weeks off. And I feel like those teams in particular are going to get off to some really tough starts, to be honest. So these are my game week predictions. We're going to do them for every single game week. We're going to input into the table and we're going to see what the table starts to look like. So my early Premier League table has Villa in fourth, Man United top on 3 points. And then bottom, we've got on -3, Hull, Coventry, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Brighton, and Liverpool. Now, when you're starting to look at things like this, you can already see potentially pressure starting to build after one game. But this is like pressure on certain clubs like Chelsea, Liverpool, and Spurs, for example, there with a point. You know, those fan bases are very unforgiving. So this is my early predictions so far from game week number 1. So let me know what you're predicting. Let me know if there's any games that sort of stand out to you. And this concept will evolve. We'll grow it. We will continue to do it and we'll be consistent. And what I feel like it's going to enable us to do is going to enable us to talk about the Premier League a lot more. So on game week 2 predictions, we're able to talk about what happened on game week 1. We're able to go in depth. We're able to talk about players. We can go into certain areas with it. And I think it gives us a good base to be able to talk about the Premier League. So those are my predictions. Let me know your thoughts. Up the villains, and I'll see you on the next one.